Hey, what's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Smith. Welcome. We are joined today by only Mr. Adam Carlson. What's up, man?
How's it going?
Adam is rocking his Jason mask, which makes me very happy because that's my favorite horror movie franchise of all time, all the Friday the 13th. Welcome, Halloween 2017. I hope everyone has a good time. I just graduated a class here down in El Paso today, so it's a pretty good day.
It sure is. Always good when you can come off a Vikings win and it's Halloween. A lot of good stuff going on right now.
I have to give credit for this because I'm sure Adam came up with it. Kyle West won't be joining us tonight. He's tied up with other things, but he'll be back next week. This one's entitled, this is episode number 274, by the way. 274. Wow. It's crazy. Northbound and Browns. So I don't know if that's a Eastbound and Down reference.
It is.
Such a good show. Such a good show.
Danny McBride is a very hilarious man.
Yeah, he is.
Does not get enough credit. I mean, there are a lot of great comedians out there, and he deserves some more respect.
I liked it. A lot of that stuff from at least for the first season was filmed in my hometown of North Carolina, so that's pretty cool. I love that show. I love that reference. But we got a lot of quick hits. We have a win over the Browns in London, like we talked about, to get to, and today was NFL trade deadline day, so we'll talk about that, and we'll get started. So let's go into some quick hits. Cornelius Edison was signed to the main roster from the practice squad to fill the hole left by Sendejo for being suspended. Edison was released this week for Sendejo's return, which he will be back, and not this weekend, but next when we go and travel to Washington. So maybe he'll get a shot at some other point on this team or maybe another team, but he was filled in just to fill a spot until Sendejo returns.
Like I wrote on the Viking Age, I think that Cornelius Edison was kind of rewarded in a way for his work on the practice squad. Got a little bit of extra pay to come up, and the Vikings were dealing with some injuries on the interior of the offensive line. Jeremiah Cyrils was out, and I believe – or no, he was injured, and the left guard was out, right? Is that how that works?
I believe so. And
either way, there were two key injuries, and they wanted to be sure that they had enough people on the interior of the offensive line. So they were able to bring him up, have him ready just in case. And now that Sendejo's back and maybe things are looking a little bit better on the offensive line, they can waive him and hopefully bring him back on the practice squad, because I didn't see them bring in a new body for the practice squad, which makes me think they're kind of holding on to a spot for him.
That makes sense. You always want to keep, just as an emergency, all the roster spots filled. Still some more to come. We'll talk about Teddy Bridgewater in a minute because I know we have a lot of questions about them. Welcome anyone who might be in the chat with us.
Oh, we can talk about them. Eric Grendall's here. He's at Wing Night, enjoying Halloween. He says he'll check back in later. Sean Reynolds is here saying that the Vikings are going to do what they say can't be done. Scott Schwab stopping in, wishing everyone a happy Halloween, and says that nothing is scarier than the Minnesota Vikings defense.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And I would like to – I forget who you said before this last comment said the Vikings are going to do what they say can't be done. I don't know who said that. I forgot the name, but –
that's Sean Reynolds.
Sean Reynolds. Hey, cool name, by the way. Very solid name. Tell us, elaborate on that. I would love to know what you mean by that because it sounds good.
I like the sound of that a lot. I don't know what it means, but I am in it. You've already got me.
Yeah, you hooked me in there. That's a good tagline. Maybe you could do some damage as a writer because we definitely have ways to get that going. But speaking of moving right along for the quick hits, speaking of waivers and transactions, running back Mac Brown was claimed off of waivers by the Vikings. I believe this went down 2 days ago, or no, I'm sorry, yesterday. To make room for him, wide receiver Rodney Adams was waived. This should come as no surprise because he's the running back from the Washington Redskins. As we take this bye week coming up to get healthy, I'm sure we'll get some intelligence from him and some inside information about the Washington Redskins. We talked about this among the guys in the Purple Peel podcast chat. We don't really have an aching need at running back. It seems to be – depends on whose week it's going to be between Murray and McKinnon. And we have C.J. Ham back there as well. So I
didn't see it as a glaring need either, but I can't argue with the results. I mean, statistically, he's a decent back, so I don't know if they picked him up just for inside information or what's going on. But either way, he's a part of the Vikings now.
He's going to be a part of
Rodney Adams is the part of that a lot of people are having problems with. Young, talented wide receiver. but wasn't really finding his role on this team, and we weren't really sure what he was going to do. Him and Stacey Coley kept going back and forth and back and forth, and so far neither have really been able to contribute in really any way until we saw Stacey Coley last week on special teams.
I think Coley will stay, I believe, and you have to tell me this because you're the transactions guru, but we're still going to have to make a spot for Teddy, I believe.
Correct.
So someone else is going to be gone. Who knows when and who that will be?
If I were a betting man, I'd say Mac Brown.
Just might be him. We'll see. We'll keep going forward with that, but as always, we'll keep you posted and updated. But right now, we have another running back for the time being, so we'll see if he lasts up until or past the Washington game. There'll be something to keep an eye on. But speaking of, like we mentioned earlier in the show, today was NFL trade deadline. It was about 4 hours ago that it had to be turned in. The Vikings stand pat as the trade deadline passes. Excuse me. No trades were made. Honestly, in my opinion, just observing from this year, the only glaring, crazy need that we have, I don't really see one. I think that if we're going to make a transaction, I think we could go ahead and a spoiler alert for my donkey later. We could just get rid of Tremaine Brock now. He's awful, and he shouldn't be here. But we got to have corner depth. I really don't have any complaints as far as the roster goes, so I'm going to knock on wood here and say that I hope that continues. But no surprise here. I didn't see us and hear about us trying to eyeball anyone specific. What about you?
I was in the same spot. I took a look at the roster up and down, and I said, what spots really need improving? Kai Forbath's playing well enough at kicker. There may have been room to improve at punter. But honestly, you know, when you take a look at everything as a whole, on defense, I don't think there's a way to really improve anyone by the trade deadline. But there were some teams that did go out and get significantly better after the trade deadline. And there are a couple I want to mention because the Seattle Seahawks just got a lot scarier now that they've got a veteran left tackle. And the Philadelphia Eagles went out and got Jay Ajayi as a running back. Those are two teams that are in the NFC that Minnesota may have to face if they make it to the postseason.
Yeah, I had a buddy. Shout out to my buddy Michael Allen. I'll see you soon, man. He's a diehard Seahawks fan from back home. He actually called me to tell me about it because we always talk about our teams together. And that's the biggest need as far as, well, besides firing Darrell Bevell, in my opinion, for the Seahawks, because they need to let Russell Wilson loose. Seattle needed an offensive line. They went out and, like you said, got a veteran player to patch up the worst group that they have on that team. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I believe they'll take the NFC West. And the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team ranked in football right now, and they're leading their division. They're number one in our conference. They didn't really necessarily need a running back, but Miami said that this was going to be a disciplinary show of force, which I don't see how that is when you leave a not-so-good team and go to probably the best team in football right now, so I'm sure Jay Ajayi is not complaining. But there are some interesting moves around there. Jimmy Garoppolo as well, if you guys haven't heard, for a second-round pick has been moved to the San Francisco 49ers, leaving the New England Patriots with two quarterbacks on their roster, Tom Brady and one injured reserve, Julian Edelman. So I expect to see them pick up an emergency quarterback somewhere very soon. I expect them to draft one as well. But some interesting moves today. It's probably, I think, the most active free agency deadline period they said in a long time.
In the chat, Sean Reynolds says that Seattle is now scary. Scott Schwab says that he heard some rumblings about Pat Shurmur wanting to try to trade for the rights to Josh Gordon, which I had heard that as well, but I didn't see it as an actual possibility.
I don't know all the cool stuff on the inside scoop and everything like that. Adam would be the one to tell you that, but I didn't hear that. I don't know how I feel about it.
There was a Twitter whisper about it. I mean, it wasn't a rumble or anything, but
okay.
But it was out there.
Take a flyer on a guy. I mean, why not? But I think our wide receiver core is all right.
Yeah, I'm okay with that group of guys.
I'm more than happy with it, especially for the value we've got with our guys there. Speaking again of roster moves, Mike Zimmer said that the Vikings are prepared to activate Teddy Bridgewater when the time is right. We just finished Week 8, halfway through the season. Like I've been saying in the show, the Vikings bye week is Week 9, mandatory after a London game for all teams. So he doesn't have to be activated until the following week. So technically, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't have to be activated until the Redskins game. And that's not even to say that he's going to play.
It doesn't even have to be the Redskins game. I believe it can be the week after the Redskins game. He can be activated.
Okay, so in between the Redskins and I believe the Rams game. So we still have a ways away before you hear any official Teddy Bridgewater news. We've been saying it on the show. We love Teddy to death. We hope that
absolutely.
Don't expect him to be playing anytime soon. I want him to get reps. I'm not so much worried about the health of his knee or the health of his body. He looks to be in good shape, good spirits, back to his former self. But this is the Case Keenum train for right now. I certainly would rather have Teddy as a backup than Kyle Slaughter. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But the time will come. Right now, everybody should focus on the bye week. Everyone's going to get healthy. Shout out Mike Rimmers. I hope you're good to go by the Redskins game. We'll talk about that as well. But, yeah, Teddy Bridgewater will be back whenever he's back. So, true Mike Zimmer answer.
Well, considering the quarterback situation in Minnesota, it's hard to really know anything. Of course, if Sam Bradford were healthy, he'd be the man right now. And if Teddy came back, he'd probably be backing up Sam Bradford.
Yep.
But with Sam Bradford's status in doubt for probably the rest of the season, who knows what's going to be coming for these players and the organization. It could be Teddy in 2 weeks. It could be Sam Bradford in 2 weeks. It could still be Case Keenum. Who knows?
With me and Adam were talking about this. We're going a little off tangent just here for a second. If you guys expect Sam Bradford back, I would wait till about December. He wasn't healthy enough for the Bears game. Yeah, he could play, but he wasn't nearly what he was week 1. That was 2 weeks ago. Add the bye week is 3, and then the whole month of November would give him almost 2 months to recoup. Then I would feel more comfortable. I think he would be all right. But that's just assuming that everything has gone hunky-dory and smooth and that he's ready to go. We don't know the status. Certainly, like Adam said, with Twitter whispers and the intel that we have, it doesn't look good. Sam Bradford's been seeing a specialist. He's been to places like New York. He's been very quiet. And usually if it's quiet, it's not good, you know. They would kind of sort of make a big deal and let the fans know with hope when a player is going to be back or about to return, like they have been with Teddy. It doesn't look good for Bradford. I'm not saying that he's completely done, but until
is this just Teddy love kind of overlapping the Sam Bradford situation?
It's kind of like the reverse from last year. It's kind of weird.
It is. It's a really strange situation. And although I don't really want to talk about it because I have no idea what's going on, it's the hottest topic of conversation with the Vikings is their quarterback situation.
Yep.
Not that they're 6-2 heading into the bye, you know.
Yeah, no, not that we've taken advantage of and done exactly what we should do with an ailing Green Bay team and just taking care of getting W's. You know, 4 in a row is very good. But let's talk about the quarterbacks, you know.
Right.
Let's move on to the special teams. Kai Forbath last week before, after we beat the Ravens, was named the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. You guys heard my complaints on the show because it was kind of a boring game with a ton of field goals. But whenever a special team steps up and does their job, Mike Zimmer emphasized from Chicago going into Baltimore game, he said, hey, look, I need special teams to step up. This is a great defense. They're going to do their job. It's going to be relying on you sometimes to score these points for us. Kai Forbath made how many, like 6 field goals?
I am not sure off the top of my head. He missed 1 extra point during the game.
1 extra point. I think he made 5
or the long of 51.
5 or 6 field goals.
Oh, no. This was against the Ravens. I'm looking at the Browns stats.
Adam will get that to you, but that's pretty cool. Kai's done his job when he's been here. There's been a couple little kinks here and there, maybe a field goal off the post or a missed extra point. But as far as getting 3 points for us when we need it, he's been pretty reliable, and I hope that trend continues.
If I remember right, he hit 2 at least from 50 in that game.
He did.
And one of the biggest criticisms of him is that you don't know if he's got the boot to make those longer kicks, and he showed it off. Always nice to see.
I'll go ahead and tackle this next bullet because we don't want to hang on it too much.
Thank you.
As we all know, we talked about it before. A couple weeks ago, Anthony Barr hit Aaron Rodgers. Clean hit. He was outside the pocket. Ended up taking Rodgers out for presumably the rest of the season. There are talks about him coming back in mid to late December. We'll see about that. But initially, you see Rodgers get up. There's a lot of swear words Barr's way, and a lot of drama there. That was the talk of the weekend. It wasn't talk about us beating them and solidifying first place or anything. We're going to talk about probably the best quarterback in football because he's going to be out for a while, and that significantly altered Green Bay's season. Aaron Rodgers went on Conan at late night and said that Mr. Barr gave him a suck it sign from DX and called him a bunch of stuff, and a lot of profanities were shouted back and forth. Anthony Barr responded, and I won't say that it was super classy, but he did defend himself, which I'm okay with you defending yourself. I'm not going to read. You guys can look it up online. It's on a lot of places. Basically, Aaron Rodgers went on and decided to blast Anthony Barr on a national television. Anthony Barr put it up on, I think, Twitter or Instagram, one of those two, and responded back and just said, it is what it is. It's not a dirty hit. I'm kind of tired of talking about it, honestly. I have my opinions about Rodgers. He's a phenomenal quarterback. I think he's one of the best I've ever seen to play. He's extremely talented and gifted, but I think, and it's been touted by guys like Greg Jennings and other people, he's not very liked in the locker room, at least 50-50 from what I've heard. He's not everybody's favorite back there. And just this little prima donna quarterback attitude that he has kind of makes me irritated, but don't want to exert negative energy there. I'm a big blunt here. Stay your ass in the pocket. You got a pretty decent offensive line. If you don't want to get hit, assuming one of your linemen doesn't get blasted or miss an assignment, stay in the pocket, man. I know that you are allowed, but once you get out of the pocket, the rules change. And I'm tired of hearing about it. Anthony Barr did his job, and just as if Trey Waynes or Xavier Rhodes misses coverage, you're not going to not throw it to the open guy. Well, if they have a chance to hit you and get away with it clean, they're going to do that. So,
and I wanted to say, though, I can completely understand why Aaron Rodgers was frustrated. When you lose your season because you land on your shoulder and arm funny, yeah, it sucks. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, is one of those quarterbacks that you hate playing against because he's so damn good.
Yep.
But you also respect everything he can do, and you fear when you play him because he is that good. And the first thing Anthony Barr did when everything happened was he said, I didn't mean to injure him. I think that him and the organization are great. Really classy answer. And then I don't know, that retort on Clueless Gamer from Conan O'Brien's show was just, it was strange because it all feels so unnecessary.
I don't know because Anthony Barr is not on the level of popularity and at his position versus how good Rodgers is at his position. There's a huge gap because Rodgers is, he's arguably already in the top 10. He could by the end of it be in the top 5. But it's kind of petty if I could pick a word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very petty to be bringing this up still. The deed is done. Well, Anthony Barr took the high road and tried to be classy about it. So I think if you're going to be snarky towards him and be passive aggressive, it didn't work out for you the first time. You guys can settle it on the field again, but I'm not going to get smart and sarcastic about it. And just, hey man, it's football. At the end of the day, it's football. So we'll move on.
One of the funniest thing is the whole time we were talking about this, the live chat was still talking about Teddy versus Case.
Oh, God. Hey, we'll get into that debate later. Don't worry. We're going to talk.
It sounds like they're pretty much over this as well.
Let's move on from that. So they had an exchange. You guys can look it up and see what Anthony Barr responded with. I don't have it up, and I don't want to get too in detail. The Vikings hosted a Play 60 event in London. If you guys aren't familiar with Play 60, I think it's one of the best things that the NFL does, encouraging children and young adults to play or be active at least 60 minutes of the day. We are the most obese country in the world. And I find it to be very, very it's very concerning that we are that. If we could get a handle on the nutrition and start doing more of this physical fitness everywhere.
And the socialization aspect of it is very important.
So many
people spend way too much time on their phones and video games and everything. I'm included in all this. I need to get out and play 60.
It's fun, man, and it's cool, like you said, for the interaction to be out there with not only your friends, but now to get to do it with NFL players. It's such a cool experience. These kids will remember that for the rest of their lives.
Oh, for sure.
If one or two hang on to it, they'll spread it around, and it'll spread like wildfire. But it's cool that the Vikings hosted that overseas. They also hosted military families at Twickenham practice as part of a 4-day experience organized by the NFL and the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, TAPS.org. Where they signed autographs, scrimmaged, and spent time with families. Being active duty and just now reading that makes my heart so full and happy. So thank you, Minnesota, for taking time for military families overseas, because a lot of people think, oh, okay, cool, we got a lot of bases here. We've got bases over in Spain, Italy, Turkey. I know there's some in the UK. There's some in Germany, Japan, Hawaii, Guam. We're everywhere. So it's cool that they took time out for guys that are close by there. I think that's awesome. I'm really jealous.
I love all the things that the Vikings do that don't get the national attention. I don't know how many other organizations do this because, like I said, if I were to look up what the Ravens do for their community or what the Jaguars do for their community, I bet you there's so many fantastic things that these teams do for their community, for organizations, for charities that just don't get the attention.
Absolutely. You know, we'd rather talk about drama between Anthony Barr and Aaron Rodgers or when someone gets suspended or blah, blah, blah. But this is stuff that kind of gets overlooked. And this is the stuff that makes me, just me as Kyle Smith, very happy to see, no matter if it's military related or what, when it's positive news and we impact communities and stuff like that. It makes my heart happy to see it, especially with this one being kind of a similar tie. But yeah, they need to talk more about this stuff.
We got Jason Tavade, Sir, and Fire Breather joining us here as well. The chat is filling up and everybody's very active. They're wondering why we don't have trick-or-treaters at our house.
I turned my light off outside. I just don't have enough candy, and I've got to go to bed soon because I've got to take my class to the airport at 4 a.m. So I will be going to bed super early, but I love Halloween. If work didn't come first, I'd be out tonight. Actually, the movie theater close by is screening the original Halloween tonight in theaters, and I really wanted to go. I love the nostalgia there, but I can't because I have to get up super early.
I'm in a secure locked building, so kids can't even get in if they want to.
Pesky kids, man. Come steal your car and your candy.
Right.
Eden Prairie thanks the Vikings at a dinner to celebrate the new TCO Performance Center in Eagan, Minnesota. Vikings headquarters moving from Eden Prairie to Eagan after this year. And Eden Prairie just wanted to thank the Vikings for all the time they spent there. Of course, they had so many great signings there. A lot of great transactions went down in Eden Prairie. And it has felt like forever that the Vikings have had their headquarters there. That's pretty sweet, man. I'm glad you got to take that over. I didn't know about this as well. I'm sure that's going to be a weird transition for the guys that have been there for a long time, like the Everson Griffins and the Brian Robinsons. But
I just love that Eagan is like a 5-minute drive from me. That's what I'm happy about.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw some stuff on social media about some construction going on, so that must be what they were referring to.
Yeah, they let media in there to take a look around, and although I wasn't on the list and didn't get to check it out, some of the footage I saw, it looks fantastic.
The last and final quick hit, I'm going to touch on this because I'm supposedly the music guy here. As you guys know, Super Bowl 52 is going to be in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium. Justin Timberlake is going to perform the halftime show. What a great choice. I've loved this guy forever. Even through the boy band fever when I was younger. I loved NSYNC. I loved that he broke away. And he's just really a kind of versatile artist. Stays very true to himself. Pretty active in the community as well. And his cute wife, Jessica Biel. Yeah. He's a pretty cool guy, man. I'd like to hang out and have a beer with him and all the crazy stuff he does on Fallon, man. It seems cool. But he's a hell of an entertainer, so really
I think it's a very solid choice. Fun music, very upbeat. It'll get some people moving. It'll keep the atmosphere excited. Sure, we'd all love to see our favorite, rock bands or rap artists in there. But as a whole, if you're looking at it as a general thing on a global scale, Justin Timberlake is a great choice.
I'm still aiming for a Metallica or a Foo Fighters halftime show. I'm sure the Foo Fighters one will probably happen, but this is a solid choice, and I think it's going to please mostly everyone. And you know what? You guys know on the show, I'm a huge Chris Stapleton fan. They're really good bros and friends, so I'd love for a surprise performance to be there, or maybe they could play Dick in a Box. That would be really cool.
Like I said on Twitter, I'd love to see I'm on a Boat, T-Pain, and Lonely Island come out on the Viking ship.
Let's just have a bunch of guests show up, and we'll just have like the most star-studded and packed halftime show ever.
I'd be going nuts. I'd be going absolutely out of my mind happy about all of that.
It's going to be a good halftime show this year, but let's move on to the main topic. The Vikings defeated the Browns in London at Twickenham Stadium, 33-16. We improved to 6-2. The Browns are still winless at 0-7. We sit firmly atop the NFC North right now. It's pretty much ours for the taking, which is kind of scary because sometimes when we lose, it's our own misdoing to ourselves. But yeah, it was a crazy game. We'll get into the stats and the breakdown here shortly, but let's get into game ball and donkey. We haven't heard back from Kyle, so if he chimes in the next couple of seconds, we'll get him in there. But
it's Halloween, so I assume Mr. West is out doing his Halloween stuff because that's one of his favorite times of the year.
Yeah, Halloween is definitely, I think it's all three of ours. It's probably our favorite holiday. I think it's really cool.
Now that I'm sober, yeah, it used to be like St. Patrick's Day, but.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. My game ball goes to Jerick McKinnon. He had 50 rushing yards and 72 receiving yards. He's really developed into an all-purpose back, a great third down back as well. If him and Latavius can kind of do this switching off, or maybe it's 2 weeks with Jet, 1 week with Latavius, depending on the matchup and the style of running that'll get us more yards, I'm all for it. This team, and it was in a couple of articles this week too, what every team should do as far as a trade deadline and what they should do coming up, every scenario for every team that would be good. And the Vikings do absolutely nothing. I think it was on NFL.com.
Yeah.
The Vikings are in a great place right now. There's no major need. There's no really good transaction that you're going to get unless you're going to pay a lot for it, kind of like we did with Sam Bradford. So, yeah, I think we're rolling. I'm glad that this running back by committee that we have going on. I like both of these guys. And Jerick McKinnon, he scored a touchdown, and he had 122 all-purpose yards. So shout out to Jet.
And the 2-point conversion. Don't forget that puppy.
Yeah, I got to watch. I didn't get to watch. I got to see it on the game cast, but yeah, he's been very busy this year, and I'm glad I'm glad we kept him around because after seeing Dalvin Cook get drafted, and I thought Latavius Murray was going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread. I was like, does Jerick McKinnon have a role? And he should be the one laughing now. He's like, I bet you missed me, man.
McKinnon's making a great case to be the RB2 behind Cook after this year.
Absolutely.
I went with Eric Kendricks this week. Kendricks, speedy linebacker all over the field, registered 9 total tackles, 8 by himself. 1 was a tackle for a loss. He defended 2 passes in coverage. He got a lick on the quarterback. He was everywhere doing everything. The motor that Eric Kendricks has is unbelievable.
If we're not talking about Anthony Barr 1 week, we're talking about Eric Kendricks the next. Man, God, this linebacking core we have is so solid.
Everybody was so worried about the size of Eric Kendricks, how he's a little small to be a middle linebacker because of the thought that they had to be these big thumping guys that are just strong against the run. And Eric Kendricks has proven to be a solid tackler. Well, he's able to drop back and be in coverage. The only other player that had more passes defended than him was Trey Waynes. And when you think about it that way, it's crazy.
That is pretty nuts between a linebacker and a corner, blocking passes. But Eric Kendricks is always a solid choice. He misses tackles from time to time, but that's not his forte. He's usually a sure tackler, obviously because he leads the team in them mostly every year. But good choice, man. For my donkey, I didn't really have anyone that played too terrible. The only thing that I didn't like was the rushing touchdown, which I'm not going to do because Adam always gets on to me, and I totally understand it. I can't give it to a whole group. With the kick return, which was just completely botched, their kick returner got a 71-yarder in. Tremaine Brock looked a little lost, and he was the surefire guy that could have stopped it at about 45 yards, maybe 50, and it went past him. And I think it took Ben Gideon to get the guy down. Tremaine Brock has turned out to be an absolute disaster of a choice for us to go after. I would be really okay if he was not on the team anymore, but that's just me. I'm not a coach. But, yeah, Tremaine Brock hasn't really contributed anything, so he's the only one that kind of had to pick somebody, even though I didn't really want to.
It's sad because I was kind of excited to see what Brock could do in a new situation under Mike Zimmer. He's had a couple good seasons in the past, and you really thought he could come in and be a solid rotational guy, and it has not looked that way at all.
Not even close. It's really crazy. Giving up some easy touchdowns, just looking like a shell of what we thought he might be, but. Game Ball and Donkey is down. Let's talk about this game.
No, it's not. I didn't give my donkey away.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I always jump the gun on that.
I got to go with Latavius Murray. When you get the bulk of the carries, 19 of them, and you get 39 yards on the ground, 2.1 yards per carry, I'm not expecting Latavius Murray to be the shifty running back that's going to make people miss, but I do expect him to pick up yards after contact and pick up the hard yardage. And that is just something that he has not been able to do this year. He was targeted once in the passing game and caught it for 8 yards, so you can't really complain too much about his role there because it's very small, but he was able to execute it. It's carrying the ball where the struggles come in. Latavius Murray, for what the Vikings wanted him to do and what they were expecting him to do, since they weren't expecting to get Dalvin Cook in the draft, is if he would have been the feature back this year, it makes me wonder just how much this offense would have struggled.
I'm okay with Latavius carrying a bunch and only having 2.1, as long as he doesn't fumble a lot like somebody we used to have. For as outstanding as he used to be,
no turnover. I'll take that.
Yeah, don't turn the ball over. That's one of the easiest ways to lose a game. So, sorry, man, I jumped the gun again. I want to smack myself.
Hey, you're excited. We're all excited. It's Vikings football. Let's see. We've got some comments here. We're going to talk about a lot of this coming up. Jason Tavade is talking about drafting a tackle in the draft coming up. We've got discussion about holograms at the Super Bowl, a possible hologram of Prince. That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the discussion in the chat's still going really, really good. A lot of talk about Norv Turner that I don't understand, but but hey, have at it, guys.
I think Norv stretched the field a little more. Now we're talking about Norv Turner, but I think with the way this team is built now and the players that we have, I think Pat Shurmur's doing an outstanding job, especially considering your number one quarterback went down, your other number one from last year is not ready. Thank God we went out and got Case Keenum, because I don't know what we would have done with.
And remember how people were not happy with Case Keenum being signed?
And you know what? I don't get a lot of things right, but I said when we started this show this season, or when we got him around when the season was starting, I said, man, that's not a bad pickup. Pat myself on the back for that one because he was a starter before somewhere else, and he wasn't awful.
So before we get into player stats, let's talk about team stats.
Okay.
Vikings picked up 375 total yards in this game compared to 276 for the Browns. Vikings dominated the time of possession, 37-52 to 22-08. Vikings picked up 26 first downs compared to 16 for the Browns.
Oof.
It was a very, very lopsided game, especially after the first half. Cleveland really just got shut down after the break.
I was at work, and we came in kind of like a swing shift, kind of the afternoon, start at like 12-ish. And my guys got there at the halftime point, and they were like, oh, my God, the Browns, this is one of those trap games you're going to lose. I said, the Browns will not finish. They don't know how to finish. They give the ball away. I have faith. Because at halftime we were losing. I think it was 13-12. And I was like, well, this is weird. And not to poop on the Browns. I mean, you fans have to endure that enough. And it sucks because they've won one game in the last 20-something.
It's not good.
It sucks, but – yeah, we pretty much dominated this game. The Vikings just had to get their rhythm going. Now, this is going to suck against a team that's pretty much better than the Browns, which is pretty much every other team. You don't want to start slow like we have been in the last couple of games and try to have to play catch-up. But with the defense that we have, you kind of have to feel comfortable with it. They don't score a lot, but they definitely get to the quarterback, and they can definitely get the turnovers back for us. But the interesting stat that I read, which is really cool, is I think this is the fourth or the fifth game where the Vikings have held a quarterback under 200 yards.
Yeah, it's a rough one too. And Kaiser definitely made some bad decisions, was rushed into horrible positions where he tried to make throws that he really shouldn't have. I believe it was – did he throw one interception or two?
I have no interceptions here.
He did go mistake-free. The turnovers were fumbles.
He's just over 50% at he's at like 56%, which is not average. A 68.1. Took 3 sacks. Quarterback rating of 33.3. I mean, he's a rookie, though, and he's had they're the worst team in football. He's going to struggle, but I'm just glad for Cleveland's sake that their head coach decided to keep him in, because there's been a quarterback kind of controversy there that isn't a controversy but is.
They've been playing musical chairs for so long that these guys can't establish anything.
These guys worth it or not. If you know you're not going to be worth a shit that year, sorry, excuse my French, but you just got to let the kid play to get a full season of tape to be like, okay, we can work with this, or do you have Blake Bortles and you need to go get someone else, Credit to the Vikings defense and everybody just staying with the program. I usually don't like saying stay the course or trust the process, but Mike Zimmer definitely trusted that this game, and that's how we ended up, because we ended up having 18 unanswered points to come back and win this game, even though we were losing at the half. Looking at the stat line, this is weird. Maybe you can explain this to me.
All right.
If you're ready, are you ready to go into stats? I'll take care of Case Keenum real quick.
All right.
ESPN.com, I'm looking at it. 27 of 43, 288 yards. It says team 287. Then I'm going down here to receiving, and it says 288. Where's this missing yard that they're talking about here? That's weird. I've never seen that before. ESPN, do your job. 288 passing yards for Case Keenum, 27 of 43, threw the ball a lot. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I won't say that the pick wasn't his fault, but it was an athletic play by one of their defensive linemen.
Yeah, it was tipped at the line.
It was tipped, and it was a very high and long-weighted tip, so it was going to be a pick. But Case doesn't let that rattle him, which is I love about this guy. He's only thrown 2 picks this year. And one was a flyer last week. You're just taking a shot. This week it was tipped. But yeah, it says team 288. He's 288, but it says team 287 up here. It's really awkward.
I'm not worried about that yard, but what I am worried about is Case Keenum's start to games because he came out and he was looking really rusty. I don't know if it was having to do with the travel or just a bad start or what the issue was, but Case Keenum did not get going for a while, and the Vikings came out with an approach that really confused me. As I've been writing on the Viking Age all week, running the ball up the gut against the Browns will not work.
Right.
Their run defense is too good, and they've been giving up way too many passing yards, and the Vikings need to attack those cornerbacks. And the way the game started out, it was run, and you were seeing these, 1 yard, 3 yard, 2 point, whatever, and it was just grueling. But as soon as they opened up the passing game, and you saw that happened pretty quickly, I'd say into the second quarter, when Case Keenum throws the ball 43 times, you see that they saw, okay, the pass attack's working. We're sticking with this for a bit.
Yeah, Cleveland, don't sleep on Cleveland's defense. It's top 10 against the run. I will say we were kind of at an advantage, which it makes me feel a little bit better that we scored 33 points on this team because they are pretty bad pretty much everywhere. They have good players. They just don't have that chemistry, and I don't think they have the leadership coaching-wise to get them where they need to be yet. But they're without their best defensive player, Myles Garrett, number 1 overall pick. I'm looking at him right now for the defense. He is not on this list.
No.
They're without their star defensive end they drafted, number 1 overall. So, Case Keenum, I don't know what's going on, but I'm glad you shook it off and played well and got some touchdowns. And he scattered the ball around pretty well. I'm looking now, if we jump over to receiving, get to rushing in a second, he had – 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 targets. 8 receivers. Shout out to, I was going to give my game ball away to this. We'll talk about receiving now. Adam Thielen led the team, 5 receptions, 98 yards.
First touchdown of the season, too. Woo.
Yes, first touchdown overseas. Pretty cool little celebration to give a tribute to the soccer players over there. 98 yards, 5 receptions, 1 touchdown. Jerick McKinnon was number 2 overall, 6 receptions, 2 yards. But my game ball almost went to Mr. Fabio Hair himself, David Morgan.
I do love me some David Morgan.
3 catches from 3 targets, 28 yards. Longest was 14. He comes up clutch most of the times when he's called upon. I like this kid. Kyle Rudolph got 6 receptions for 27 and a touchdown. And then down at the bottom we have Stephon Diggs, 4 for 27. Treadwell, Murray, and Floyd all got 1 apiece. Treadwell got 1 for 21. Murray and Floyd had 8 and 7 respectively. So when Keenum gets going, he spreads the ball around pretty well.
That's true. Treadwell had me a little scared there when he caught that pass and started running down the sideline and didn't get out of bounds to stop the clock right away and then fumbled the ball. It was like, oh, my goodness, not this.
Yeah, I was going to give my donkey to him, but luckily the fumble wasn't recovered by Cleveland. It was just going out of bounds. But he did have another catch. Laquan Treadwell is quietly getting receptions every game, which is what we wanted. Definitely not living up to the value of the number 1 pick, but he's getting involved and he's making some clutch catches because let me check this one more time. Yeah, this was for 21, so obviously this was going to go for a first down for whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So, pretty sweet that he's still going on, but hang on to the damn ball, Laquan.
I want to say it was right before halftime.
Yep.
A big-time play right there. What is a little concerning is Michael Floyd only getting the 1 reception on the 1 target. I know a lot of people were really excited about Michael Floyd coming home and playing with the Vikings, and so far I'm not quite seeing the value of bringing him back, but it may take time for him to adjust and develop into the offense. Maybe they're trying to ease him in or something. I don't know. But for now, definitely looks like Adam Thielen got 10 targets this game. Jerick McKinnon got 10, and Kyle Rudolph got 7 with Diggs with 6. Those are where the balls are going to be thrown.
We have a plethora of receivers, and they come in all shapes, forms, and sizes. So I'm just glad we have somebody that's competent enough to get them there without turning the damn ball over. I don't care who it is. Just keep chugging along. We got a good formula.
Yeah, as we said before, the rushing attack was not stellar. Jerick McKinnon ran the ball 14 times for 50 yards, averaging 3.6 and a score, as well as a 2-point conversion. They were able to punch in. Latavius Murray, 19 carries, 39 yards, 2.1. And Diggs tried an end around that didn't get anywhere.
Yeah, I would like to see us go for an average of 100 or more a game, but they were close. 88 yards as a whole isn't terrible, so not too bad.
Neither player was able to really bust a long run. The longest run of the night was 10, or day, I should say, because it was early. Way too early for Adams to be thinking, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a better output in the running game. But like I said, as I wrote on the Viking Age, I was not expecting any kind of major rushing attack this game, because that is, you're feeding into Cleveland's strengths if you're trying to run the ball against them.
Hell yeah. Like I said, don't sleep on them. They are good at some things, not good at a lot of things, but they are good at a few. So that's the number one thing to say. They got a stout front. I don't know if I want to say front four or go all the way to 7, because I know Jamie Collins is there. He just got there from the Pats. Myles Garrett, like I mentioned earlier, but they do have some solid players. I think they need some leadership. But let's talk about turnovers. Let's do some comparisons.
Yeah.
Because we talked about Laquan Treadwell already. Fumbled, lost, and 0, so went out of bounds.
Thank goodness on that one.
For the Cleveland Browns, Isaiah Crowell, their running back, and Bryce Teggs. I'm not sure if he's a receiver.
He's a returner.
Okay, he's a returner. So a running back and a returner both fumbled and lost, and then Emmanuel Lamore and Anthony Harris both recovered.
Yeah.
So we won the turnover battle with 2-0 there, which is really, really awesome to see. It's the biggest thing that I look for on defense now. I don't look for anything fancy. I don't look for stats for people, even though we can talk about stats in a minute. Shout out to Everson Griffin, keeping that streak going. But
I believe it was a muffed punt and a stripped running back.
Yes.
Were the two causes.
So we can go. Actually, we'll transition to that. I'll let you talk about that too. But for the one that Anthony Harris recovered, I believe that was from Danielle Hunter stripping Isaiah Crowell.
Correct.
Manley Moore got the recovery from Bryce Teggs from return, like you had mentioned. So, yeah, we're being disruptive, man. That's the best thing that I look for from our defensive unit is forcing turnovers. I don't care how they come. Usually I think that they're going to come from the defensive line, but take them how we can get them, I guess.
Sure, you have to. You have to take turnovers any chance you can get. That's how you win games right there. Eric Kendricks led the way in tackles with 9 total, 8 solo, and I read down his stats earlier, which are very impressive. Harrison Smith second with 7 total tackles, all of them solo. 1 for a loss. Anthony Barr had 4 in a pass defense. Ben Gedeon had 4. Xavier Rhodes had 4 in a pass defense. This whole stat bar is full of a lot of players contributing. And there were some really good plays. Linval Joseph got a sack. Tom Johnson got a sack. And the sack daddy got a sack.
Continuing his streak, Everson Griffin is tied for number 2 in the NFL right now. I believe the guy from Dallas is at 10.5.
Yeah.
Everson's tied with 10 at number 2. 10 sacks halfway through the season. Let's see if he can get in the 20s. I think it's possible.
While everyone's talking about the one sack that Everson Griffin got, kind of being brushed under the carpet a little bit, is that he had 5 hits on the quarterback in this game.
I love it.
And I know that this doesn't always get recorded in stats very well, but Danielle Hunter was very disruptive as well. Tom Johnson got 2 hits on the quarterback. Linval Joseph had 1. They were making life miserable for the Browns, and the Browns spent a lot of money in free agency to get that offensive line rolling.
Now, in fairness, we should talk about this because it is major news. Their amazing left tackle, Joe Thomas, was out. First time he's been out since, I think, 2006 or 2005.
Yeah, he had one hell of a streak going.
He had a great streak going, and it should have known it was going to happen because he was on Mike and Mike recently talking about the streak and how amazing it was. Go figure, that always happens.
Yeah.
But we're looking right here. I'm looking at the stat line on ESPN. 9 quarterback hits, 8 passes defended,
5
tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. Not nearly the same when it comes to Cleveland. Cleveland only sacked Case Keenum once. They did have a lot of tackles for loss, but that's not necessarily on Keenum. They got a stout line and only 5 quarterback hits. So
when Kaiser wasn't dropping the ball off to his close reads, he was looking at Trey Waynes a lot. And when he threw the ball Trey Waynes' direction, it didn't work out well for him.
I'm so glad we're going to talk about this because I don't care if it's against the Browns. When you're asked to do your job, you need to do it well. And Trey Waynes did his job very, very well this game. He gets picked on a lot because between the corners that we have that start between Rhodes, Newman, and him, I believe he's the weakest of the 3. I think he's almost where he needs to be, but he's going to get picked on. And I love the games like this. He's like, all right, cool, you want to throw the ball my way? That's not going to go very well for you. I think the receivers that in total only gained 22 yards on him.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. He had 3 passes defended, too, which is amazing because I've seen him come up in the clutch, especially against Green Bay. It seems the last couple of years get interceptions.
He was very physical during the game, very physical.
Yep. No interceptions for the team this game, but Trey Waynes was definitely like up for the challenge here. So I'm glad he came through to kind of silence some people, at least for this week.
Special teams, Marcus Sherrills had 1 kick return for 24, 2 punt returns for a total of 15, and Kai Forbath hit all 4 of his field goal attempts, but missed 1 of his 2 extra points. Punting, Ryan Quigley punted 6 times, an average of 36.8, with only 2 of them landing inside the 20. Not a great day for him, but punters are going to have off days. It's going to happen. And I do believe the Vikings will look to add in competition for punter after this year, but for now, they are rolling with Mr. Quigley.
Go back and get Jeff Locke. Damn it. No, Ryan Quigley's doing an okay job. Kai Forbath as well. I mean, we won 33-16, and Kai Forbath scored 13 points. So
I want to thank Kathy for joining us. She's got to go take care of the library closing. Thanks for joining us here in the chat. We got lots of more comments going on here. People having fun. Talking about Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs being a great duo, how Xavier Rhodes gave up the longest catch of the year during this game, and I'm always surprised to see Xavier Rhodes give up a big play, but it's the NFL. That kind of stuff is going to happen, and even if you're Xavier Rhodes, even Darrelle Revis gives up a touchdown every now and then, right?
Yeah, this body positioning was kind of weird. He didn't get turned around in time. I know what you're talking about, and he was going to be one of my looks for the donkey this week, but then I'm just nitpicking because if that's all you got to complain about, we're in a pretty good spot. So
I think we kind of got to nitpick in a game like this because although the first half looked a little rough, enough players redeemed themselves where picking a donkey for this game was difficult.
I love those games. We've had multiple games like that this year, so I hope we keep it up. I want to give a shout out to Adam real quick before we talk about anything else because he wrote a great piece that came up on the Viking Edge about 4 hours ago. So just to give you guys a little heads up going into the bye week to keep the momentum going, at least for the fans, the Vikings are surging in the power rankings everywhere. Adam wrote this, like I said, on the vikingedge.com. You can go look for it. It's titled Minnesota Vikings Power Rankings Preview Week 9 Edition. For ESPN, we're ranked 5th in the NFL. For Bleacher Report, NJ.com by Joe Giglio, and then Washington Post, we're ranked 6th. NFL.com, Sporting News, Sports Illustrated, USA Today has us 7th overall. CBS Sports and Yahoo Sports have us at 8. Bleeding Green Nation ranked us at number 9, and the New York Daily News has us at 10. So we're top 10 at worst and better among other places. So, but between the NFL, Bleacher Report, and ESPN, we're averaging at 6. So it's pretty damn good out of 32 teams. I just want to give a shout out from Adam putting all these together so you can kind of see where we're at when we head into the bye week and get healthy.
I can understand how some of these teams are skeptical about the Vikings being long-term contenders because they don't have the pieces that contemporary Super Bowl contenders have. They don't have, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. They don't have, the players of the familiarity of Von Miller or something like that. The problem isn't that the Vikings don't have star players. It's that they don't have nationally recognized players yet.
I don't think we have a quality win yet, honestly. We beat the Saints. We didn't know what they were going to be week 1. We beat the Packers. They lost Aaron Rodgers in that game. And I think that's fair to doubt because 6-2 can be kind of biased. But if you just keep racking up wins, we have to get recognized at some point. Now, it should be noted that over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a tough stretch because we go on the road to Washington. The number 2 overall ranked Los Angeles Rams have done a complete 180. Their offense is churning out points like no other, and their defense is great. Probably the best defensive player in the league in Aaron Donald. They're coming to town, though, but I like us at home against that game. That's going to be a barn burner, so as JR used to say back in the day. But it's going to be a good game. Not sure after that, but I know the next 2 games are going to be close because we've lost in Washington a lot since we've been playing there. And I don't know why, but I'm hoping we can play against a struggling Redskins team and take advantage of our future quarterback next year, Kirk Cousins, who will be in purple, and I'm going to call it now.
Everson Griffin against TJ Clemmings might be one to watch in Week 10, but
that'll be awesome. I don't think he's a starter there, though. I'm pretty sure he's not starting.
Their left tackle's injured.
Oh, I saw it.
He's week to week right now, so it's possible.
Because I saw him the other week, and I said, I know those braids. I know that large person. Okay, he's not starting, and the offense is out. Cool, but that was a couple weeks ago, so that will be interesting to see.
But yeah, we don't have to worry about the Week 10 for a while now because the Vikings have their bye week. We get a week off where we don't got to preview anything. We won't have a game review. But I think next week for our show, we'll do a mid-season review, maybe give out some mid-season awards, all that kind of fun stuff.
Absolutely. And I'll transition that to the social media question because I asked you guys a week early, hoping I would get a lot of response, and I did not. So I'm going to go through all of these because we only have like 6 people in there. I said the season is almost halfway done. We were sitting at 5-2. We're out now at 6-2. We're still atop the division. Who is your offensive, defensive, special teams MVP, your overall game ball, and donkey? So let's get to these. Chaz Green says Thielen is the offensive MVP.
Okay.
Barr is for the defensive side. Special team is Kai, hands down. Overall game ball is the entire O-line for such an improvement. I like that choice. Donkey is Pat Shurmur for his cheese sandwich predictable offense, and I definitely replied there. I love cheese sandwiches. So
they're delicious.
They're fantastic. Don Dostal says Thielen, Rhodes, Sherrills on special teams, game ball, Slick Rick for bringing in the right lineman, and the donkey is Bradford's knee. Ouch.
Ooh.
Brent Foster, excuse me. Thielen, again, MVP. Harrison Smith for defensive MVP. Kai Forbath, special teams. Overall, Mike Zimmer, he's just plain awesome. I can agree with that. Overall, donkey is Diggs. What's up with your nuts, bro? It's been like this since last year.
Oh, no.
Okay. Thielen again. Mike Canfield says Thielen, Griffin, Kai Forbath. Overall is Thielen. It must be a good year when I can't think of a donkey. I'll go with Michael Floyd. No impact thus far. I can see that. Hoping he shows up. We have 2 left. Mr. Craig Morley, I hate you. Offensive MVP, Thielen again. Very honorable mention to Dalvin. Defensive MVP is Linval. Nice choice. Special teams, Kai Forbath. Overall, O-line. From last year's abomination to a solid, pretty dependable unit. Overall, donkey, Jarek on kick returns for not taking enough damn knees.
Team touchback.
Yes, all the way. And I have to give this guy credit where credit's due because I actually enjoyed the hell out of these. So Tommy Gunn with the reverse awards yet again. Offensive MVP, Kyle Slaughter. Defensive MVP, Marcus Sherrills. And he doesn't even play cornerback. Special team, Jerick McKinnon. Everybody loves starting at the 15-yard line. Overall game ball, the Vikings' knees. Ouch.
Oh.
This goes to the biggest game changers, right? Overall donkey, Aaron Rodgers. The nerve of that guy going down, which allowed us to beat the Packers, yet still, my team's injuries, cries every night and day. I've cut all people out of my life who use State Farm, and you should too. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers. Thank you, as always, for your delightful responses, Tommy Gunn. But to everybody in general, too, I was a week early. My bad.
It's good to hear from you guys. You'll hear from us next week who our MVPs are at each spot. And we'll just give out a couple silly awards, too. Why not? I like being silly once in a while. We did not mention that Adam Thielen has now caught 5 or more passes in every single game this season, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. But it's a really cool streak, and it's one that's difficult for wide receivers to get these days. So I wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely incredible. The story of him, we've mentioned it before. I won't beat it into the ground. $500 scholarship to Mankato State. Now he's second in the league in receiving yards. Of course, Antonio Brown leads, but that's fine because he's an animal. But Adam Thielen's going to hit that 1,000-yard mark this year. The thing for him versus Diggs, and you can't really knock him, is Diggs just can't play a full season. He's quickly turned into our number one. He can pretty much do it all, and he's actually big for what I've looked at on paper versus how he looks on TV. He's actually a bigger guy. So
yeah.
Shout out to the white boy receiver. Yeah.
Diggs did say that his goal this year was to play all 16 games, and he didn't accomplish that, but he will be able to return and have an impact going forward. So that's what we're hoping to see from him. And let's talk about the Survival League. I love the Yahoo Survival League.
Pass on this. I don't want to talk about it. Let's just move right along.
I believe 2 strikes were handed out by people that didn't make picks. There were no eliminated players this week, so we still have 14 active players. There is only 1 team remaining with no strikes.
I wonder who that is.
And that is the Three-Peaters, who are looking like they may come out with a win again, and we'll have to ship more stuff to the UK. I'm not going to have so much Viking swag. I don't know.
Craig, I'm not even going to start running my mouth to you. I just want to be cool with you now. Can we be best friends? Because you seem to be very lucky, and I need the lottery number ticket so I can retire.
And the team he picked this week won by 1 point.
The Bengals?
Oh, that guy. That guy. But I'll be posting the full update on the podcast survival page, or on the podcast page, and we'll have a look at all the people with all their strikes, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in danger of elimination in week 9, and I'm one of them.
I'm kind of glad I didn't play. Craig would have just made me angry.
I don't know how he does it. I have no idea how this man does
luck. Craig, are you ISIS? Do you have the inside scoop? Is this rigged? I need answers, and I want them right now.
It's just a situation where he's too good at guessing, I guess.
I'm not giving him any attribute to skill there. I'm just going to say it's pure luck, and I hate him again.
That's all I have for this week. You have anything else you want to close with?
I just want to give a shout-out to people. I'm actually going to give a shout-out to my dear friend Shira. She's up in New York. If you guys haven't heard, there was a stupid terror attack again this morning in New York City. I'm reading now. I texted her to make sure. My heart stopped a little bit. She's a dear friend of mine from back home for my whole life. So to shut down the west part of the subway, so I couldn't get back to Brooklyn after work. She says, luckily I signed up for a random Britney Spears dance class, so I just got home. Thanks for thinking of me. I'm like, cool. Shout out to anyone who was affected in New York today. This shit's getting old. This is why I do what I do. Can't stand people like this. I think this is cheap and shallow, but I'm not going to give whoever this is responsible for any credit. Just know that here at the Purple People Podcast, we support love and happiness, and we hope that everybody is okay. If you have anyone that's affected, reach out to us if you want to talk. And my heart goes out to New York today.
I just want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. It was awesome seeing everybody interact, asking questions, having fun, discussing things among yourselves, and sharing in the Vikings love. I mean, I love that a football team can bring so many people together and can bring forth positivity. That's what I love, and that's what I'm here for. I know that there are a lot of other Vikings podcasts out there. There are tons of choices, and yet you guys decide to come and join us, and that means a lot to me. And thank you for all of that. I do want to say that over on Undead Talking, I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow to break down the new Walking Dead comic book. And we are also doing a preview video on either Friday or Saturday talking about the next episode of the Walking Dead TV show. So if you're interested in either of those, go over and hit like, subscribe, and whatever on Undead Talking on YouTube. And you can watch our videos there, or you can download the Viking Age or the Undead Walking app, where you can keep up to date on all of that kind of stuff. And I'd appreciate it if you did, because then you'd be supporting me as well.
Yep, Adam makes his bread and butter that way. He's a writer. I like his stuff. I thoroughly enjoy these guys outside. I call it off duty because this doesn't work, but I'm going to say it is just because. But yeah, outside of the show that we do, we always chat about stuff going on in the world, and just we're good friends, and he does lots of cool stuff over there. If I had more time, he definitely gave me a shot to write over there, so I wish I had more time. But Adam takes care of that over there at the Viking Age for all your Viking needs, and the Undead Walking for his site Undead Talking, I believe you said.
Yeah, we got the Undead Talking chat. That's where we talk about our undead walking stuff.
Like it. So there you go. Hey, add him up. Help him pay the bills because he does an excellent job. And he writes a lot of articles. So.
And we've got @PurplePeoplePod on Twitter. I'm @MNVikingZombie. Kyle Smith still has a protected account, so good luck getting him to follow you.
I have Purple Scolger. If you can hit me up there. My Twitter is very, very quiet because I don't have a lot of people. So you can add to that. I'll actually start putting that on my handle too. But before we go and before Adam does the sign-off, happy Halloween, everybody. Be safe tonight. Do something cool. And if you want to send us a photo to the podcast of your outfits this year, your costumes, send them on over. We might post a couple if they're cool.
Yeah, send us your Vikings costumes. It would be awesome to see them. And if you head on up to New Jersey today, be extra careful. If there's a guy in a hockey mask following you around, run for your life.
Yeah, especially if you're in the Manhattan area. All right.
On that note, I'd like to thank everyone again for joining us and remind you, as always, to stay classy, Minnesota.